Oh, okay, good morning, everyone. As you see, we got some blue stickers on the floor. That's for social distancing, so I have to stay away from myself in these corners here. All right, ready? I think we're going to do the warm-ups. As I said, Sunday we're still having that meetup in the back of the school, so if you can make it, I think the weather's going to be pretty good. But if not, we can always drift inside, and we have these decals on the floor. So we have plenty of room here. If there's too many, we can overflow. We can go in the other room. We have enough for 25 people in that room with plenty of space. So anyways, hands up. Ready, turn. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and stop. Okay, hands overhead. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and stop. Okay, hands up. Reach down. 1, 2, 3. To your right. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Center. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, hands up. Reach down. 1, 2, 3. To your right. 2, 3. To your left. 2, 3. Center. Inhale. Exhale. Hands up. Reach down. 1, 2, 3. To your right. 2, 3. To your left. 2, 3. Center. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, let me fix this wire. It's kind of tangled up here. Okay, center, hands on your waist. We're going to do circular movements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Center reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Center cross. Knees. Circular movements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Center. Hands on your waist. Neck turning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Back and forth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Okay, tilt to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Sena rotating. 1, 2, 3. Reverse. 1, 2, 3. Sena. Hands up. Pull in. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay. Spread your feet. Okay. Turn your shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, and stop. Okay, stretch it out. Switch. 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 Straighten the front knee. Switch. 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 Sena. Okay, shake it out. Deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, shoulder roll, hands in your waist. Circular movements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Okay, now press, release, exhale, inhale. and stop. Hands are pulling, inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Okay, one more, inhale, exhale. Okay, wrists. And Sena. Reverse. And Sena. Okay, now palms down, bigger circle, go over the head. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and stop. Okay, shake it out. Okay, now we're going to stand here and go to shoulder width stance. We're going to shift the weight. We're going to go to one side. Shift. Slowly shift. Find your center. Get your weight over that foot. This is your balance point. And this is something that we've been working on so we can find a position where the weight is actually vertically aligned. So our body is aligned. The tailbone is actually over that heel side. And then when we shift over, we get the tailbone right over that heel. And then we're in a position of verticalness. Okay, so in Tai Chi, we all actually want to keep a vertical spine. You don't want to tilt forward or arch your back. You just want to find that neutral medium position where the body is sort of pivoting off that axle, which is really your spine. Okay, now once we have that position, we're able to stand on one leg. And we have to practice this to find that position. That's what part of your proprioceptive sensing mechanism is. And it's also part of just being aware and conscious of the body shifting, supporting the weight, and lifting. Okay. So as you build that, you build your balance, you actually will strengthen a bit of the upper thigh. So this part is what lifts your legs up. So it's important to be able to lift your leg. And you say, well, I don't normally do this, but going upstairs, you'd have to take a step up. You'd have to take a step up. And then shifting when you go down the stairs, you actually would be better off sinking into your stance. So that actually will give you a concept of taking the step, but not actually doing that. So that's how people fall downstairs many, many times, because you're dropping your foot into that, and you're actually not stable. If you tilt forward, you're going to fall. So the rail does help, but the thing is when you're shifting and you're putting your foot down, you have to kind of relax this knee in order to reach the next lower step. So all the footwork that we're doing actually supports, sort of functionality on the side where you're moving your lower body, whether it's walking, balancing, stepping, going up the stairs, down the stairs, going up slopes, even hiking, you'd actually have to use your legs in a different way. So anyways, deep breathing, inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale. Now I'm gonna face the mirror. I'm gonna do the swinging of the arms like this. So I'm gonna bring this foot in, that's my right side, and they swing like this. And so switch, other side. And Sena. Okay, next, feet like this, go to the side, and come back in, and we're going to cross. And Sena. Okay, go to the other side. And Sena. Okay, deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, hands here. Sink down, step out, forward, and back. So this is silk grilling. Go forward, turn, and back. One, two, three, and four. 5 is reset to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So then it cycles through. Okay, so as you build the coordination, the spatial awareness, you track the movement, follow with your eyes, move with your hands, move with your legs, turn the body and the torso, and eventually you'll get this to work, and you start to integrate the body. Okay, that's one of the things that I like to talk a lot about is integration of body. And integration of body is coordination. If you're uncoordinated, it means your body's actually not working the way it should be. So we try to integrate the body, develop that coordination, and movement is the key to avoiding stiffness. Okay, Sena. Now we're going to go to cloud hands. Sena. Okay, palms down. Lift up. Okay, carry tiger to the mountain is one movement. So when we lift up, okay, so let's relax the shoulders. Upper hoop, cross, and down. Okay, upper hoop, cross, and down. So the cross hand position is this. Okay, so we switch to open and close. That's what would happen. Open and close. So you see how the cross hand position becomes a reference point, and then as you expand and you contract. Now we did a meetup last Sunday, and we did this outside, and I went over some of these. So after several months of stay in place, when I went over this, some people after so many years still didn't realize the hands were like this, that they're facing this way. So you have to pay attention when we do these movements to, first get the gross movement and then kind of see what this exercise is, and then kind of figure out which ways the hands are facing and which hand is long and which hand is rounded. These are all parts of postures. So when you expand and you contract, you have to kind of look at the total picture. So picture is the position that you're in, picture perfect, right? So you're working toward that picture perfect position. And pictures are images. And what are images? It's a reflection of what you see, and that's stored in your brain as information. So that's all that is. Okay, next. Hands here, preparation. So this is your square movements. It's your vertical movement. Sinking the elbows, relax the shoulders. That's preparation. It's the starting movement in the form. And this is going to lower hoop. That's this. Rounding out. Relax the arms. Let the fingers spread out gently. Tongue touching the roof of your mouth. Clear your thoughts. So standing meditation is this sort of holding a posture. So this is a posture, a lower hoop. It's not a posture specifically in the form. So the form has its specific items that are called postures, but these are also postures. Okay, this is shoulder height. So these postures are positions inside the postures that are defining a movement that has this in it. So these are inside the Tai Chi postures. Elbows down. Palms down, straighten up, spine straight, chin tucked in slightly. Fingertips down. Okay, hands up, pull in, deep breathing, inhale, exhale, inhale, Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, relax for a few seconds. So we'll go through these warm-ups and these exercises, these fundamentals, every single class. And when you're first learning, you follow along, and then you get to a point where you can do all these exercises. So for some people that are kind of impatient or only wanting to be stimulated by learning new things, you would say, he's not doing anything new. It's, it's the same old thing. But that's what fundamentals are. And, that's how we train, because you have to go through this process, and then you will have self-discovery, and you start to go through these movements and discover different aspects that become concepts and theories that we do. And a lot of people really don't understand that happens. That happens with these as drills. These happen as, the evolving inside the form. So all of this really is a constant evolution and a constant change. So it doesn't stand still. So that's one of the big benefits. Yep.
Sorry, the question is from Kyle, and he asked, could you talk a little bit about the Dantian? How does that work with movement?
Uh-huh. So there's a question about the Dantian and movement. So Dantian is a position, that's your center of gravity, your center of mass. So, a lot of people would say, oh, the Dantian is that they call it the axilla, where the energy of the human body is in the Chinese theory. But the thing is, the Dantian is your center of mass. That's where your breath goes to when you're doing a deep breathing. Breathing is diaphragmatic. As you sink your breath is really as how you control your diaphragm and you control your torso as far as how you breathe. But center of mass is really controlled by movement and position. So just thinking of your Dantian isn't enough. You have to move and conform to certain postures and configurations as you move through your movements into different positions, which are transitions. You're controlling your center of mattress, is controlling your Dantian, and at the same time regulating your breath to accommodate your body positioning. Now don't forget, when you breathe, it's really in this area, your chest cavity, your thorax. That's the thoracic area. You have the diaphragm, you have your ribs, you have your, the upper part of your shoulder girdle. All of this actually is tied to your movements. So when we breathe and we move, that's what's shifting, not just the diaphragm. Your whole body is shifting. So that's why you have to breathe naturally and regulate the movement. So because it's done slowly, you can actually control the movement so that it just starts to blend. And that's why we do these exercises over and over again. So going back to why it's the same routine, it's because we need to let the body discover and go through the process of excessiveness, deficiency, and deletion of any erroneous motions. And you won't actually understand what erroneous motion is until your movements become quite integrated and at the same time not conflicted. Not conflicted meaning you don't have tension where it shouldn't be, and you're not using too much strength when you shouldn't. So that's really the whole premise of Tai Chi. And Tai Chi, it's using your mind to direct the movement, which is what they call the yi and the will, but at the same time, while you're directing the movement, it's really the program that you put into the brain that actually controls that. So that's where the neurological side of it comes in, and that aspect is really why it's interesting that you can evolve with the same material forever. It's because your self-discovery over time allows for that brain plasticity that everyone talks about that you need to do as you age, happens through your movements. So I call it the, when you move, that the intellectual side of learning is really through movement, or your intelligence in the body comes through movement. So you use movement to drive everything. Just thinking is not enough. You have to actually, because the building of those programs, the synapses, the wiring that causes you or allows you to do certain movements happens through movement. It doesn't happen through but just thinking about it. That's visualization, and that can help you control some of your proprioception, but that actually is a control factor. Like they've done studies with basketball players that had injuries, and they could visualize the ball going into the hoop just by sitting there, and when they recovered, they found that their shot hadn't degraded that much because of the visualization. So proprioception visualization starts to become part of everything you do. So the accuracy of that movement, the timing, everything is through visualization kind of program that in. So there is that aspect tied to what we do as well, because visualization of movement is taking the motion as you think it should be, and then you track it as it's going through your body. So that's what that concept we're talking about. But the Danten breathing is just part of controlling your center of gravity. So anyways, so while we do these each and every class over time, you would be able to go through the routine on your own, and then over time you'll actually self-discover. So the next thing we're going to do is, now we're into the postures, right? This is diagonal flying. So we're here. Now I do these exercises, many, many times, not in a week, sometimes in a day. So you can imagine, because I'm doing them over and over again, what my body is picking up and what my brain is picking up, and what evolves and changes. So this, I could tell you for a fact that actually happens. I'm not telling you because some book said this is what happens. This happens because I've experienced this. In fact, when I first told my teacher that I was going to open a school and keep the lineage going, one of his comments was me that he said, "You will be a different person." But and I didn't really exactly know what he was talking about, even though I knew that that you will evolve. But it's true that after 25 years of doing and teaching, it's going to be different for me than someone that does this 2 or 3 times a week. So as teachers, or anyone who's a teacher, evolves tremendously, because you're doing it 24/7, or at least your mind is involved in it 24/7. So you'll really become a different person because your whole being becomes part of what you're doing. Okay, so that's really the movements that come from a blend of, say, cloud hands or silk reeling. All of these movements start to kind of cross-reference, then the body starts to move. Okay, so we're here. This is diagonal flying. Okay, now if we went to cloud hands, this is your center line, this is the vertical, this is the hands down. So you see all of these movements have to come together, and you end up turning and turning and turning to define this position, and everything else that is tied to that. So we did this earlier, carry target to mountain. Now we're going to do the infinity sign. So that's going from right to left. Okay, form the fist. So that's a rolling of your wrists and a forming of the fist. So this really is something in the form. It's called form the fist. This is divert and block, and this is punch. So that becomes part of the posture. So all these movements now are working with postures inside the form. Carry tiger to the mountain is one of those. Forming the fist, divert, block, and punch is one of those. And then strum the lute, center line. So we have to be able to find our center line. So the whole premise of Tai Chi is balance. So one thing about breath and movement and Qigong and Dantian, all of that is part of the concepts that we practice, but just standing meditation is not enough. You can sink your breath to here, and your breath is always in this area. You're breathing from here, but the thing is, movement takes it to another level. So the programming of the form, the sequential events, all of that is much more complicated than standing. So you will discover things in standing meditation, but you're not going to discover coordination. And coordination and movement is more essential than just having oxygen. You have to be able to move. You can be put on a machine and get oxygen. It doesn't help your movement. But you need oxygen to move. But then you need your muscles and your skeleton to move. It has to work together. So this is drawing the bow. This is fan through the back. So these are postures in the form. Some of you already know this. Okay. Raise the hand. And down. Okay, deep breathing. So that completes those set of drills, okay, those set of fundamentals. So some people watching might be thinking, what else should I do to supplement the Tai Chi? Because it's done slowly, and should I, work with weights? Should I do this? How do you develop strength when you're doing that? I would answer that by saying, because I don't lift weights, and people do that when they're younger because it's really a physical thing, and they do a lot of it, and some older people would actually go to the gyms and do a lot of that too. So I don't do that. I don't use weights. I don't use any apparatus in that sense because I'm not trying to build muscles. I'm not trying to build strength. But at the same time, my muscle tone is actually very good, not just in my age, but it's probably better than most people even younger than me, because the muscles contract and they relax and they contract. So as long as you're doing that, that's what happens when you're lifting, with apparatus. But that muscle contraction and the relaxation can be built to create larger muscles. I really don't think we need to do that, simply because that's kind of bodybuilding and body sculpting, or it's great for when you're younger and you want to have that physique. But if you're working with the naturalness of your body's anatomy, then that stuff will form, with your nutrition and your diet by an exercise. So my exercise is very simple. I do this, I do some Kung Fu, and I teach. So the musculature is always moving and contracting. It's gentle, can be very intense depending on how I generate the movement. But because the muscles are going through that process, they stay very strong and toned. My legs are very, very strong. And, I don't have any fat on them because I use my legs all the time. So your body adapts to what it is. So do I need to use a squat machine, or do I hold barbells and do the press? No, I don't do that because I support my body weight. So the weight-bearing exercise and standing on one leg and bending, all of this stuff actually strengthens the lower body. Because I use my torso much more than people use, the torso stays conditioned. So, your whole body is made up of muscles and a skeleton. If you don't move that, the apparatus that you have is your physical body, then it's not going to develop or stay, in tune with what's happening. Because that's just the amazing thing about the human body. You evolve with what you use it for. So if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And that's as simple as you can say, but it's actually something true again. So let's go to, we went through the front part of the form, the linear form. So after getting through the linear form, and we're in this position, say in this position, and we turn this way. So let's just quickly go through what the linear form is. So you start off with preparation, and I'm just going to do this as one unit. You go to the left side, and you go to the forward position. So you remember that we did this last class? And then if we were to step up and flip the hands, I didn't do this as a drill, but I want you to see that that's the horizontal, and this is the vertical. And then Grass the Sparrow's Tail, we're looking just at the different postures, not really putting it, it's in order, but not putting together as a form. You can see that this is all the different postures that we've worked on, the single whip. And then I talked about holding the ball. So that's this. We shift over, and this is diagonal flying. Okay. This is transitioning up to neutral again, forward foot, press forward, and you step up to shoulder width and raise the hand. You bend from the waist, and you stalk flap swings into this position. So you're like this. So that's the whole first section of the form, looking at it from the mirror. Okay. Now when we're here, we have actually turned to this direction. That's actually turning to your left with that toe heel pivot that we've actually done in some of the classes as an exercise, where you turning is this, and then you're back to square. Now when we're in this position, we end up going toward your left, you would end up here. Okay. Now we got to do this brush knee movement. So the brush knee movement is really this, flipping your hands 1, 2, 3, and back. Okay. So we can do this a dozen times. We could do it 100 times. If you do this over and over again, you will get the brush knee right side push. So a couple of pointers is that when you're on the left side like this, that's consistent, but your setup here is like this, opposites, and your hands are like this. So look at the hands. They're right on the center line. Right. So this is on your center line. This is on your center line. Your palms together. You turn to the right, drop the elbow, bring this hand down, and you're here. So that's brush knee and push. That's your right side movement. In the form, it's done twice. So we came from here. That's how we ended up there. So this whole section is going to be a grouping of movements that happen here. So you have your first brush knee and push, and you have your second brush knee and push. Okay, so that gives you an idea that that's a cycling on the same side. Now, if we want to get to the other side, we can just simply switch feet and do the opposite, right? And turn to this way, and you have brush knee left side. So I'm just setting this up so you can see that there's a horizontal position and a vertical, and then merge the hands like this. We're on the center line. We turn to the left. So this elbow takes you to the left, so this is the direction you turn in. Now I drop my elbow, and I bring this hand down. 1, 2, that's beginning style, like a transition in beginning style. So you hear 1, 2. Now this goes down, ends up by the thigh, and you push. So that's brushing the knee, the thigh, the knee is brushing the knee and push. Okay. So while we're looking at this transition of these two postures, right and left side, you might not see the body going forward and back because that goes into another dimension. While we're looking at this, we can see this flat turning like this, but there's the forward and the back. Okay. So when you're back here, and you flip the elbows and you bring it down. Then when you push, you should go to the forward position and then go back to this position. So you can work the right and left side just like what I just did. See? So you can be in this position, you have a left foot forward and the right side turn. So you remember, that's going the opposite side, and then you're going to push. If this is forward, the right side, then you go to the left. So as you blend those movements, eventually it gets smoother, it gets more integrated, but you have to first kind of look at what happens with the hands, what happens to the legs. It's just back and forth. You're going forward and back. Okay, so that's really, when we turn like this, we go forward and back. That's really what happens. You're going forward. So this hand would go forward, and this hand would go back, and you would go forward. Now you have a transition, so you turn this way, okay, and then we go back. Now if I get back to center and I turn this way, I would have my right side brush knee and push. So there's 4 ways of practicing that. You have that, doing it with the turn over here, and then we get back to center, and we turn over here, and that will get your brush knee going, in opposite directions. In the frontal view, we have the frontal position. This is your right side, Grass the Sparrow's Tail. But if it's a brush knee, you have your hands opposite. You see, this is opposite for a brush knee, okay? If I was on this side, the left side, if I did the left side Grass the Sparrow's Tail, it would be this. But because it's brush knee, my hands are like this, and I turn to this side. Okay, and then you push. So that's how you kind of differentiate between a Grass the Sparrow's Tail and a brush knee. The push is off the opposite side in the brush knee, meaning that this push is with the back leg, this push is with the front leg. So that's the difference between Grass the Sparrow's Tail and the brush knee movements. Okay, so that's that posture. Now, if you've already gotten through that as a drill, then you would tie those brush knees together with a step. So when you're here and you go forward, back, and turn, and you check your weight here and then step out. That's a step through, and what you're doing is stepping forward, so you're transitioning through and advancing back and forth. So that's how we do it in the brush knee. So how does that happen? Once we, just go into the mirror position. Let's do this. 1, let's do that again. 2. Okay, that's 2. On the third one, now it's strung together. You go forward, and you twist step, and you go up. Now your hands are like this now, right? And you go to the left. Now I'm going to do one more. I'm going to go back to the right side. Now this is like setting up for the Grass the Sparrows Tail, but you're going to pass through with the step. So that puts you on the opposite side. And then you can do the brush knee and push. So how many did we just do? How many brush knees did we do? 2, 1, and 1. So there's 4. 2, 1, and 1. 2 rights, a left, and a right. So it's 2, 1, 1. All right, see, is that clear? You're here. Vertical. Here's your first one. Here's your second one. So, each posture is just one unit. Now I go to the left. Remember I set this up? Now if I was doing Grass the Sparrow's Tail left side, that's what would happen. But I'm doing brush knee. I have to go to the left by toe out, and I step to get the opposite side. You see the opposite side? And because it's the opposite side, I'm turning this way to do the left one. Now I have to reset. Now I'm back to this position. So that's a neutral position. I have to set this press. So when the hand comes together like this, is pressing forward, I toe out, and then I step up, and now I'm in the opposite stance. Flip the hands, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's how we get the 4 brush knee. And those 4 brush knees actually strung together is part of the movements that happen in this direction that we're doing the form. You'll see that when we're going through the mapped out sequence. Right now I'm doing the linear form, and I call it the linear form because everything is happening in this direction, so that you could see the hands through the mirror. You're following from behind, so it gives you a better perspective of what's going on there. Now, what do we do? We did what did I say? 2 rights, a left, and a right. Right. So the last movement would be here. So what do I do here? I go back to this again. So this starting position happens a lot, right? When we came from here to here in the form, this is where we ended up, and that would be over there in the sequence. But this is your starting position. Okay. Then we do the 4 brush knees. And then that's 2 rights. The right push is how you know that that's complete. Now I have to do a left push. So here's my left push. So that's a total of 3 brush knee and push. I have 1 more, so I have to get back to the right side. And I step out, I flip my elbows, and I brush knee. Okay, then I sit back. So if I didn't do the brush knee, I'm back to this position. Okay, so without the brush knee, it looks like I didn't do anything. I just got back into the same position. Because the next movement is going to stem from here. So that's called Strum the Lute. So this neutral position, elbow down, vertical elbow, is also Strum the Lute. Okay. Now, because I'm here, after I did the brush knee, I go back to neutral, and then I turn. Right? I turn, and I turn the palm up, and I come back to center. And then I lean forward. Then I step up, find the shoulder width stance, and close the door. Okay? And then I go back to center and relax the knees. So that's your next posture. You have 4 brush knee, then you have Strum the Lute, and close the door. So that ends up from here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we bend the knees, relax the elbows, both hands are on the center line. That's Strum the Lute, close the door. Okay, so that's the buildup of those movements. The front side, in the beginning, we go through all of the openings and turning to the corner. We're doing the form. But just seeing, you have preparation, you have beginning style left and right side, you have Grass the Sparrow's Tail right side, you transition into single whip right side. This mirror image now. Single whip, hold the ball as the transition. diagonal flying. So you have that position. Then you step up and raise the hand, bend from the waist, and stalk flaps wings. And then you continue on your 4-brush knee and strum the lute. So that's a lot of material for someone that's new, but you don't have to do all of that. You could kind of learn the first section or learn the first 3 movements. Once you've kind of identified those, learn the next 3 movements or 1 movement. You can go at your own pace. Learn as much as you can based on how much you can hold, how much you can retain. Because it's not good to do too much, but at least get a sort of an overall picture of what's going on so that you can see what's coming up. So, yeah.
Just one thing that came up is just describe when you say brush knee on the right, it's the left hand that brushes by the knee, the right hand that pushes out.
Yeah. So the brush knee is a little confusing, mainly because when I say brush knee right side push, I mean the pushing hand is right. So in other words, a brush knee, even though my left foot is forward, the brush knee push is my right hand. So this is the right side brush knee push. So the push is what determines that it's the right side, not the brushing of the knee, even though the left foot is forward. It actually is a translation of the brush knee push means that you're in the opposite stance. But sometimes the English translation is not so clear. So right side brush knee and push has a left foot forward. Left side brush knee has the left push with the right leg forward. And in Grass the Sparrow's Tail, our right side Grass the Sparrow is right side forward, right side push. So what I try to get across is that it's the opposite side that's pushing. And when we say opposite side, opposite to the legs. Okay, opposite to the legs, meaning if this is forward, this is the push. In Grass the Sparrow's Tail, if this is forward, this is the push. Okay, so that will take some time to sort out, but the thing is, if you learn this by kind of the order that we're doing them, then even though I say right side, right side, it's a lot of thinking, oh, right and left, which, what's he talking about? But you copy the movements from the back side, you'll be able to track it. If you practice it with a mirror image looking at me, especially when doing the form, it'll be all backwards and you get all confused. So that's why when you watch video, we have a 3-camera setup here to try to get you to view us from, when I do the form, from the direction as if you were in this room following me. If I do the form like this in front of you, right? I start off, I have my left hand here, and we've been doing all these mirror image type thing that's on the same side. If you do it on the same side as this, because I'm doing it left side, you would be doing your right side. You would be backwards. So just bear in mind that when we do the warm-ups, it's mirror image. When we do the form, and you're following me from the back, it's the same side. It's not, the real mirror image is there. That's the mirror image. So if you follow it like this, you'll realize that it's, backwards in the mirror. So here, we just follow me on the same side. So just look at it at the same side, right? So this is a right side push, right side leg. Left side push, right side forward. So, that's usually confusing for most people. It's always like that. So, and because it's so intricate as a posture, there's, 5 to 6 different actions that you have to pick up on. So it's really, just brush knee alone is, something that you just work on as do the right side so you can identify it, do the left side so you can identify it. Then when you switch sides, you won't have to overthink it. So that's one of the problems. Okay, let's go through the form, okay? So preparation. Now this is just following you from behind. Left side press, that's beginning style left. Flip the hands, this is a transition. Right side, Grass the Sparrow's Tail, right side. So you notice right side, right hand, right leg, see? Hook your wrist, right side hook wrist. Therefore, this is called right side single whip. Hold the ball, diagonal flying, shift and step. Come through your center, press forward. Here's your shoulder width stance. Raise the hand. Bend from the waist, stalk flaps wings. And then we're going to toe heel and turn. Here we are right here. Here's your brush knee. This is in the sequence. There's your two brush knee. So when you're going through this, don't worry about the mapping of the form just yet. Identify the postures. Because eventually you'll be familiar from seeing the form. But if you just try to copy it now, you're going to really get confused without focusing on. Now, there's my final right side brushed in. Here's the Strum, the Lute that we just did. And here's close the door. Back to neutral, form the fist, and punch. Okay, going out, going in, punch. Cross the arms, leopard and tiger springs to mountain. Okay, then we go back to neutral. We're moving along here. Not a whole lot of explanation because anyone that's following already knows this sequence. So without delay, we have to get through the form. Repulse the monkey. You're going to see this and you're going to say, wow, that just looks like brush knee. Well, the posture itself is very similar to brush knee, but you're going backwards. Each one of these groupings of movement actually need to be learned as one piece. So here, insert needle, fan through the back, turn, stroke down, parry and punch, form the fist, and step through, step up, punch. Here it is again, divert, block, and punch. Cross the arms, leopard and tiger springs to mountain. Now hopefully we can get this from the back view, but you're going to turn and you get carry tiger to the mountain, and then you go to the back side, and this is typically how I face you with the mirror image, but this is not mirror image. This is the same side. Okay, now I'm going to turn over to here. Now, if you're picking it up from the back, you would have left side grass the sparrow's tail. Hook your wrist, because that's left side. We have the left hook wrist, and we have the left side single whip. Palm in, across. Now we have to flip the hands over to do a diagonal flying. Okay, this diagonal flying again. Now we're here. Neutral position. This is another posture. It's called part the horse's mane. We step up, get to the other side. Neutral position again, part the horse's mane. Now I'm going to cross corner. I'm going to step over here, going into the 45-degree corner. I'm at vertical position again. Jade Lady work shuttle. So right now, just listen to the names. Try to identify with the names. If you go to our website, there's actually a black banner there, and it has the order in text. You can download that as a PDF, and then you can follow and maybe get a clearer name description, because when I do this, you might not actually hear it correctly. A single whip, sometimes people say, what's he saying? Single whip? If you see it in text, you can actually say, okay, now I know what he's saying. Hold the ball, flip the hands over, diagonal flying. So the website is calvinchin.com. If you go to the website, there's a lot of stuff on there. There's history, there's articles, there's a lot of things there that might be interesting, but you'll get a better picture. So that banner in black is a PDF. You can download it, and then you can see the sections of the form. It's broken down into sections so that you know kind of where the groupings are. So you can focus on a section as you're building it, but do it in order. Don't kind of jump around, otherwise you'll get confused again. So that was the form, in complete, mapped out, in the ground, because that's what the mapping is. Then on the linear side, you identify the posture, but it's also mapped out in a linear direction because that's the order of those movements as you go through the mapped out sequence that kind of goes around the room. So that's hopefully something that you'll be able to learn and keep doing it so that you can discover. All right, deep breathing. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So if you like this content or the way it's being taught, then give us a thumbs up, subscribe, share it with your friends, get more people to do it. I try to get it so that you can actually learn this. It's not easy to learn this just following some random video because they don't tell you anything. I try to get it across, and it is more of a class, more of a lesson than just following along. And as you evolve and you want more information, on the website we actually have in the right-hand corner, it's a platform for Kung Fu or Tai Chi, and you can actually click on it, put your email, and if you're interested in learning that way, because that will have some more tutorials for people that are specifically learning. This is for the general audience that's kind of global right now. So follow that and let us know. So we're going to go into the 108 movement form now. So usually I go through the form. Sometimes I pick it up. Last time we just got through the tail end of it, or kind of. In fact, the last class it was just a random grouping of movements that we just got through. So let's go to this position. Okay. Now we know carry tiger to the mountain is this. Now that's a transition to get us to here. We have this in the Tai Chi Paradigm in the backside, and it takes us to the left side of the form. In the traditional, we don't have those left sides. We're doing carry tiger to the mountain as a transition. So, as you evolve, even in the Tai Chi Paradigm, that transition is exactly the same, just that in the Tai Chi Paradigm, you have your left hand to the outside. In the long form, we have the right hand to the outside because it's the first transition to that corner. So when we push forward like that and we sit back, we have to pivot this front foot toward the mirror. And then we have to shift the weight and then sit back to here and then go forward and back. So this is a transition to take us to the cross hands, okay, with the right hand on the outside. Now the Tai Chi Paradigm would cross hands to the left and you would raise your hand. We get to this position and then we're going to do the obliques. Okay. So that transition to carry tiger to the mountain now ties in footwork. So if you turn and you shift and you create the lower hoop and go forward and back and turn and sink your elbows and cross the forearms and adjust that left foot to line up. That transition is something that you should just work that unit until you feel very comfortable in the form, because there's a lot of things going on here that you can't pick up just by looking at it. You have to do it, and then by doing it, it's called sort of a hands-on practice. It's very hard to imagine your movements until you get to actually a pretty advanced stage. Try going through your form someday, when you're lying in bed or just visualizing in your head. You'll lose track of it unless your body actually knows it. But once you know that at a stage, you can actually go through your movements and know step by step what your body's doing. That's the mental imagery that you store up here. That mental imagery isn't in that hard drive yet because it's too new. So even though you can recite the thing, but you can't actually track your movements as if your body is doing what it should be doing. So, that's kind of a support thing, but you can actually do something like that as part of building that memory, right? So when we're here, and you come down, and you sit back, and you turn, and then you go forward, and then all of the adjustments to stay vertical and horizontal, all of that stuff to happen. Now, to differentiate between solid and empty. So your leg work becomes more and more important. In the beginning, I don't demand or focus too much on how important it is to the relationship of the upper and lower body, because it's too much for you to digest. So you have to actually go through this whole process until your body is ready. Then you can actually distinguish what solid and empty is, what shifting of the weight is, what your hands and the legs do to develop that relationship. That relationship becomes coordination, it becomes control, it becomes all of those things. But the thing is, shifting of the weight, you have to, through that process of learning the sequence, letting the limbs, the lower half of your body, learn to adapt and relax and feel what it feels like, to find your center of gravity, find your center of mass, transition through the form. And while you're doing that, your body will start to adapt, but then it's still not really in the mindfulness and consciousness of everything that's happening, because you can only focus on one thing at a time. Otherwise, you get distracted and you lose your place. So that happens a lot when you're going through your form. If you start to think about something, you could be somewhere else in the form, and someone else, if you're following, would be someplace else. So that's where things kind of fall apart. So anyways, so once we're here, we carry tiger to the mountain. So I do this with you so you can get the gross image. And, I hope it's not really gross, but the thing is, it's a gross image. Just get the big picture, and then try to dial it in to control your movements, and that's really what happens as you evolve. So Grass the Sparrow's Tail happens in this corner, and then we're done here, and we hook our wrist, and here's the oblique single whip. Okay? Now we shift, pivot, and turn. You might have to drag this over. 1, there's your triangle position. 2, 3. Fist under elbow. Okay, so we do the fist under elbow. It's just like in the Tai Chi Paradigm, but this hand is out here, and then you end up here. What I mean by that is, we're in neutral position. We would just turn, and then this hand's almost there already. But when your hands are here, you have to bring this hand back in here so they track together. And then you end up coming to vertical and passing through from here to inverted. Your hands are twisted like this. Okay, so that's what fist under. You twist it in. Then we untwist it like this to go back to neutral before we do repulse the monkey. Okay, so all this twisting and maneuvering really creates an action. So you're using your musculature in a different way. You're winding it up. You're twisting. So that helps stimulate circulation. It actually helps a lot of little things that you didn't really realize was happening. Okay, here we go to neutral position. Come down. Carry tiger to the mountain. We lift the knee. This is actually an opening of the leg so we can go down into a stance. To hold the ball. And then this is a repeat, diagonal flying. Relax the shoulders. So as we progress through the form, you're really just stringing together more and more postures. But they're the same postures. It's just, when does it happen? How does it link together? And then we toe heel to turn. And then we're going to do 1 brush knee. Then we're going to do 1 insert the needle. And 1 fan through the back. Adjust the feet, and we're here. Okay? So let's just kind of go through that little bit of a transition. Once we're here, there's your brush knee again. So brush knee is a common movement. It happens quite a few times in the form. Now we have to sit back. Now, a lot of times when you first do the insert needle, you're going to feel like you're going to lose your balance. Why? Because once you've completed a brush knee, you have to sit back. Okay, so when you sit back, you have to get your tailbone over this heel, right? So that's how we get the balance position, and then you're going to lift up and down while your center is over this foot. Now that's the same center that we found when we were here. You see, that happens in the fundamentals. If your body is not accustomed to doing that, finding that center and relaxing, you have to practice that or train your body to realize that that's where your center is. So when we're here, we have to find our center after the brush knee as we sit back. So sitting back is actually going to this stance. Going forward is going to this stance. But because we're going back, we're here. There's an exchange. Here's the toe up. Here's the neutral position. Here's your center. You can touch if you want. If that helps, just sit back, find your center, change the hands as if you're doing the brush knee, but you're going to actually go like this and then go from here to insert needle and then drop it in. Okay. So insert needle is dropping your right hand in on the same side as your supporting leg. And then it comes up to here. You step out, adjust the front foot because you have to shift the weight back to do that. And then you shift your weight to the front leg and open the stance. And then you do fan through the back. Okay, now we have to shift the weight and pivot on that heel to get this foot over here. You might have to move it a little bit like this. Stroke down and back fist. Okay, so this is something that sometimes people question. He says, sometimes if you're in this fan through that back position, why would you turn like this and do to get there? So it's really an adjustment. A lot of Tai Chi people don't do that in their style of Tai Chi. They just pivot and then just adjust and drag that across. That's one way of getting into the stance, because when the feet are actually aligned like this and you pivot and you turn, you could be in a narrow position so you don't feel comfortable. When we do this, it's really an adjustment to take us into here, and it's much more, it's closer to our shoulder width stance. So in other words, when I'm in fan through the back here, if I just turn, my foot could be here, so I have to move it that way. Whereas if I'm here, if I do this, that slight adjustment there allowed me to go into this a little bit more efficiently. But at the same time, there's a control factor where you have that adjust and pivot. Some of those things happen spontaneously as part of your action, but the thing is, there is those two different approaches. When I do the form normally, I would sometimes use one or both of those in the transition, depending on what happens and how fast I'm doing it. So if I'm here, I might just do it like that, and I'm already into that position. But that happens because, I know that position has to be there. But when you're first learning it, it gets a little, it's the control factor, the feet, the pivoting, you might not have the coordination. But we have that in many places in the form, like even reversing the ball when we close the form. I do that because we have to get into a position. If I just reverse the ball without turning, then my stability and my position is not as good because my feet are too much in line. So that slight adjustment to widen the stance it takes you out of that tightrope position, whereas it gives you a little bigger base on the lateral side of the movement because you've got the forward movement. But then if you're on a tightrope, how do you, your shoulders are this wide and you're standing on this narrow base. Of course, you're not going to be stable, so you have to be here. And some people even go wider. But we don't go wider than that simply because that becomes extreme. Are you in the forward stance? This is the correct stance for us. or this stance, and you're here. Are you headed there? You're headed there, you're headed there. There's actually instability in that direction. So, the positions are always about balance and stability. It's because, Tai Chi is also a martial art. So you have to be balanced and stable in order to use your technique or stay on a functional side to be able to be effective. If you're doing it for, balance and transition and walking and so forth, then those things still apply because you don't want to be unstable. So you have to find your center, you have to find the shoulder width stance, you have to get the right width of the stance. This way is the right width, or, for us it's just a little bit outside of there. So we really focus on that shoulder width stance because that's much more natural in this position, but in walking, your feet should be maybe 2.5 inches closer, or 2.5 inches space between the feet. Or you go to this position, shoulder width, that's not your natural walking, that's your natural standing position. So there's a different idea for every position. Okay, deep breathing. So we're into the oblique position, then we've got into insert needle, fan through the back. Now fan through the back, we're here. Now we've got to turn, stroke down, invert the hand, parry and punch. So the important thing is in this position, when we turn, if you shift your weight and turn like this, this would also work too. Depends on how big a shift is, and then you do the back fist. Okay? Yeah.
Sorry, just a question came up. What's the left hand doing when you're doing the strike down?
Which strike? This one?
The downward, yeah.
You mean the parry and punch?
The strike downwards, yeah.
Oh, the insert needle.
No. Like see with the hammer fist down.
Okay. So, fan through the back. Okay, here's the turn. Okay. So, one way of when you're learning this, there's something that happens in Tai Chi that's not really apparent to people that never studied it, is the sustaining of a position. When you finish one posture, you have to hold that position and transition. So that sustaining is what links the form together to make it look like it's kind of seamless. Even though the individual postures, the sustaining of that hook hand to here is really part of allowing you to build that posture. So when you're in the fan through the back position and you're finished, the sustain the hand position, that allows you to come to here. So this is what that would look like. Now when I go like this and I stroke down, this hand actually would come in. So if I go like this, if I do one hand, then I put my hand here, that's that position. Then I sit back and I turn. I have to bring this out and then go in through the center. Then when I come back to here, this hand has to come back down and alongside the elbow. So this hand is like this hand. So that's a parry and punch. So sustaining your position allows you to go from here to here to here. So the upper body is doing that. It begins here, then this hand comes in. Then you invert the hand, you turn, and then this hand goes out as this hand comes up. And then as this hand comes down, this hand merges back to the elbow position, and you're in the forward leg position. So that's parry and punch. So when I speak of integration of body and the coordination of it, that coordination control is happening up here, but at the same time, you have to build that control. So sustaining a position from an action to an inaction is really stillness and motion, right? So stillness and motion become sustaining it, and that level of mindfulness and consciousness comes into the play. When one moves, the whole body starts to sort all of that out, and your coordination will build. So in the fan through the back position, now just look at this, right? Insert needle. I sustain the position. While I move my feet, I set up my hands, and then I open the form. So when I'm here, I turn. Now I'm here. That comes down. This comes to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that gives you a breakdown of the things that happen as a relationship, but that coordination isn't, doesn't happen immediately. So that's what a transition is. Now, a lot of people that are following the video that's doing it live or maybe archiving it will see that, they know these movements, so they're just reacting and, spontaneous going through it. But someone learning new, it's very hard to pick up on that. So when we're here, say, fan to the back, when I turn, my stroke down actually becomes this. And then I go to the next movement. So you're not going to see any of the things that we just went through because it's impossible for you to pick up if you can see what I just did. I just blended the next movement together with it. And that's eventually what will happen because it's ingrained in your body. So when I speak of muscle memory, transition, integration of body, all of that stuff are sort of concepts, but at the same time become principled in a sense that your hands and legs are building this relationship of integration and harmony and movement, and that gets into a whole nother topic. So anyways, so we're at insert needle, fan through the back, and we're here. So all of the things that we're talking about, actually, when I go through the form, I actually don't go too fast, otherwise you will never be able to pick up on it. Now I form the fist, I step backwards, and I divert, block, and punch. Then I sit back, toe out, I step up, go to neutral, and then we're in Grass the Sparrow's Tail. Hook your wrists, and then we're in single whip. So you notice how I go into single whip is change the direction. So Grass the Sparrow's Tail, especially even the people that are doing the long form, should know that we need to control each aspect of the transition before we can actually refine it. So we have to go through as if it's much more blocky, right? So this is how we progress, because you have to define the structure, the geometry of your position before you can actually blend it. Okay, so we're here. Brush knee, insert the needle, and we'll go to fan through the back, okay? Turn, stroke down, parry and punch, step backwards. So I'm just repeating what we just did. And then we step up and grasp a sparrow's tail, follows this, and then we're here. Okay, now we do a set of cloud hands. We would go through the transition. So here is kind of that staining of the position. So it ends up like robotic movement. But robotic movement is very controlled. Flailing your hands, although it seems like it's seamless, is really not structure. So in time, your body can go through that robotic movement into a seamless movement with structural integrity, position, and functionality all built in as part of that learning. So it doesn't happen overnight. It takes, sometimes years, sometimes decades for your body to go through this whole process. And bear in mind that you're not doing this every single day, so it's something that's going to take time. So be patient. That's part of the learning, and I'll see you next time, because they just told me that I have to sign out, so I'll see you next time.